It is a big idea, a new world order.
You may have heard about the Great Reset. Well, that's the agenda of the global elites who want to remake capitalism in their image. And it takes its name from the 50th annual conference of the World Economic Forum. Now, the advocates for the Great Reset use phrases like build back better. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear political leaders all over the world parrot that mantra. It's hardly a coincidence.
It's a very pertinent question to ask, how do we build back better?
To build back better or whatever.
We have a chance to reset the clock and build back better than before.
To build back better than before.
Remember the terrible damage of COVID as we try to build back from this global pandemic.
Joe Biden calls it build back better.
Build back better.
Building back better.
To do things differently. To build back better.
We're going to build it back better.
And build it back better.
To my plan to build back better.
Start taking all the problems that have been created in education, mental health, and start to build back in a positive way.
I have launched a booklet called Build Back Better, written after coronavirus.
It's about building this country back better.
Growing conspiracy following it. It is called the Great Reset.
An unprecedented opportunity to rethink and reset the ways in which we live.
The great opportunity for reset.
The theory even calls Mr. Biden's campaign slogan, Build Back Better, a front for the conspiracy.
Build back better.
Building back better our economy.
Build back better.
All elements of the Great Reset are fundamental to building the future we need.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
It's a big effort to, some would say, to build back better. We would say to really have a great reset.
Is that an echo chamber I hear? Anyway, the Great Reset agenda, according to their very own website, might I add, is a three-pronged attack on normality. Now, the first is about creating fairness. There's that fuzzy word, hey? Apparently, this can be done through governments colluding together to impose similar tax and regulatory regimes right across the world. And then, of course, they need to promote more equitable outcomes, which means wealth taxes, more expensive fossil fuels and more expensive electricity, and new global rules about trade and international competition. You can bet your bottom dollar these new rules will not be about increasing competition. Now, before you jump to conclusions, please do not confuse this fairness agenda with communism. I mean, just because the Communist Manifesto states that, and I quote, the introduction of free competition is thus public declaration that from now on the members of society are unequal, that doesn't mean the Great Reset agenda of reducing competition and promoting fairness is actually modelled on the communist ideology. Please do not let the facts get in the way of your opinion here. I repeat, the Great Reset is not newfangled communism. And to help prove my point, I'm going to say the second component of the Great Reset is ensuring investments advance shared goals such as equality and sustainability. Well, let me decipher that for you. That is code for governments printing shiploads of money and using it to create a new economic system while abandoning the old one. You know, the old system, that pesky capitalism that made the West so prosperous and so many of us healthy. Instead, the focus, according to the great resetters, needs to be on green urban infrastructure. So too bad if you actually live in a regional area. But not content with that, they also want to give free cash to private companies to improve their environmental and social scores. Now again, I have to say this, I do not want you to confuse this Great Reset agenda with communism. Just because Marx wrote that communism would have to take the control of industry and all branches of production out of the hands of mutually competing individuals and instead institute a system in which all these branches of production are operated by society as a whole, that does not mean that governments giving trillions of dollars to their favourite corporate wokesters to implement the Great Reset agenda is a new version of communism. Please, I ask again, put that recurring thought out of your head. The Great Reset is not communism. It's only a reset of society. And it's great, of course. And the third and final priority of the Great Reset is a glorious fourth industrial revolution. Now that is not to be confused with any previous community revolutions of the past. Because unlike all revolutions before it, this one is actually a revolution to support the public good. Now, isn't that a lovely initiative? A revolution to support the public good. We've never heard that before. And of course, it's going to be achieved by forcing those companies that meet their environmental and social scores, you know, they're the ones that got the money to become more woke and hence are allowed to continue to operate under this new agenda. Well, these companies are going to work together in a concerted effort across every sector of the economy. Now, if that sounds a lot like a few smaller companies, funded by the government, effectively becoming one big government-funded company, all for the good of society, well, I think you're starting to get the picture. Again, though, I just need to point out, just because a goal of the Communist Manifesto is the, quote, common utilisation of all instruments of production and the distribution of all products according to common agreement, this has no similarity to the Great Reset agenda to reinvent capitalism. I mean, look, just because the words of Karl Marx and Klaus Schwab are very similar, only a bourgeoisie would actually think they mean the same thing. So I'm going to say it again. The Great Reset is not similar to communism in any way, shape or form. Well, not really. Well, not entirely. Maybe not even a little bit, all right? It can't be, because communism has always been a total failure. It's an inherently evil ideology. It destroys human spirit, and only a power-hungry elite would ever advocate for its re-establishment in the Western world. And that would never happen, because there are no power-hungry elites seeking to control your life. You have total control and self-direction. Oh, except when you're told to stay at home by a health bureaucrat, or you're not allowed to go out without your COVID passport, or you're told you have to immediately shut down your business because someone's got a cough, or you've been cancelled from the internet for having impure thoughts. So there you have it. Rest comfortably. The Great Reset agenda is nothing like the Communist Manifesto. and there is absolutely nothing for you to worry about. And I know that because Klaus Schwab and Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau and Bill Gates and Kamala Harris and Greta Thunberg and a whole bunch of other people keep telling me so.
We're going to build it back better.
And build it back better.
It's my plan to build back better.
Start taking all the problems that have been created in education, mental health, and start to build back in a positive way.
I have launched a booklet called Build Back Better, Britain after coronavirus.
It's about building this country back better.
Growing conspiracy following it. It is called the Great Reset.
An unprecedented opportunity to rethink and reset the ways in which we live.
The great opportunity for reset.
The theory even calls Mr. Biden's campaign slogan, Build Back Better, a front for the conspiracy.
Build back better.
Building back better our economy.
Build back better.
All elements of the Great Reset are fundamental to building the future we need. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
It's a big effort to, some would say, to build back better. We would say to really have a great reset.
It's a very pertinent question to ask, how do we build back better?
To build back better or whatever.
We have a chance to reset the clock and build back better than before.
To build back better than before.
Remember the terrible damage of COVID as we try to build back from this global pandemic.
Joe Biden calls it Build Back Better.
Build back better.
Building back better.
To do things differently. To build back better.
And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there.
It is a big idea, a new world order.